So the idea of memory is really interesting in the ACOTAR series because I think almost all of the characters have some kind of strange relationship with their own memories and how they recall them to themselves and therefore how they recall those memories to us as the audience. On a smaller scale, I feel like Nesta is misremembering her time in the shack with her sisters because she's making it seem like she really didn't do anything in the shack. And maybe she didn't. She definitely wasn't out hunting. Like she was being framed as like a cruel stepsister for a reason. But I think what she's misremembering, what Feyre is misremembering, and what the author is misremembering is that there is so much more that goes into the survival of a household than being the provider of food, or at least of the meat. So I actually came up against this writing the fanfic, like the Nesta fanfic, and I actually had to go back and read the first couple chapters of the first book, which I haven't done in a really long time, specifically because I wanted to see how Feyre operated with Nesta and Elain before Nesta and Elain got any character development. Like this is like their pure evil stepsister or like less wow, I can't talk today. Less well-meaning sister eras of their lives. And Feyre remembers Elain being kind of dim, like kind of like just not all there. Like she doesn't seem to understand what's happening. Like she's just there. Whereas Nesta is just this colossal bitch who is super invested in her relationship with Tomas and being engaged and just being like, oh, like we're in love and like Feyre, fuck you, like you're a slut, like shit like that. And we're meant to take Feyre at her word until we meet Nesta and Elain like where they're at. And there's this point where Feyre remembers Nesta's shoes being brand new and Nesta saying she wanted more, she wanted shoes or like a cloak or something. And then Feyre's shoes are falling apart and Nesta's are perfect next to her. And we are not meant to challenge that until Akasif, when Nesta walks into the shack with Cassian and is like, these are my shoes, they're all fucked up. Like Nesta was just as impoverished as Feyre was. It wasn't like Nesta was, gimme your money, Feyre. It was, she's trying to run the household. So what Feyre is taking as Nesta is being grabby with the money and she's not realizing that I need things, it's Nesta's running the household. She's doing what her mother probably would have done, which makes sense considering that Nesta was groomed to do what her mother does, or at least surpass her mother in that way. And don't even get me started about Elain. If Elain's explanation of the shack time does not involve her actually trying to grow crops and being unsuccessful, I'm going to be like, Sarah, like, what is wrong with you? And this is when we bring it back to Tamlin and Rhysand. We have to remember that Feyre's memory has always been a little unreliable. Like, she's thinking about her sisters a type of way, and she's thinking about her situation a type of way. And Tamlin is a savior until he isn't. Rhysand is a villain until he isn't. But Feyre's perception of Nesta being a bitch and Elain being kind of dim and Tamlin being a savior or a villain or Rhysand being a villain or a savior, it is all down to Feyre's perspective. The actual content of their actions and the content of their character rests outside of Feyre's perspective. And I think that's something that is really interesting. I don't think Feyre is twisting things. I think Feyre is, when she doesn't want to know something, she doesn't want to know something. So this is something like gaining traction on Tumblr, if I remember correctly, where Feyre's always saying, like, I never let myself remember that, or like, I pushed that thought away. So like, when she doesn't want to think about something, she literally just sticks it in a box, doesn't think about it. And that's how, it's not even that she's twisting things, she's just not taking her thoughts to their logical conclusion, and therefore she's not remembering everything. And it's weird. It's very weird. And by weird, I mean it's very interesting, and I hope that this is further looked at in an Elain book where Feyre really didn't have very charitable things to say about Elaine, like, very early on. Like, even Nesta, like, Feyre was always like, Nesta was made of, like, very strong shit. There's a difference between that and Elaine just doesn't understand things. Like, I really hope that the reckoning of, like, Feyre's memory is dealt with later on in the series.